It's starting to look way too convenient, and quite frankly, the internet isn't buying the coincidence card anymore. Just as the walls start closing in on Joe McCann regarding the chilling reality of what happened to Ashlee Jenae in that Zanzibar villa, suddenly, like magic, a mysterious woman from Miami appears out of thin air to drop a bombshell that smells more like a smokescreen than actual truth. The timing? Absolutely impeccable if you're trying to bury a scandal. The vibes? Pure desperation. We aren't just looking at a tragic loss anymore. We are watching a high-stakes masterclass in narrative shifting and character assassination that would make a Hollywood publicist blush. If the world stops seeing Ashlee as the joyful bride-to-be and starts whispering about a hidden lifestyle, the entire focus of the investigation shifts from what happened to her to who was she really. It's calculated, it's cold, and it's raising eyebrows from the suburbs of Florida to the crypto lounges of Dubai. Is this a genuine revelation from someone who knew her? Or is this the most expensive PR stunt ever staged to protect a billionaire's reputation? Stay locked in, because we are about to peel back the layers of this so-called double life and see who really stands to gain from Ashlee Jenae's name being dragged through the mud. Let's get straight into the heart of this storm, because the deeper you dig, the more it feels like we're reading a script that was written in a boardroom rather than a police station. We have to talk about the players in this twisted game, starting with the man of the hour, Joe McCann. In the world of high-stakes crypto, Joe is known for being a shark, a man who navigates the most volatile markets with a cold, calculated precision. But lately, it's not his trading charts that have people talking. It's his personal life, which seems to be crashing harder than a meme coin in a bear market. For months, the public was sold this image of a power couple: the wealthy, sophisticated investor and his beautiful, vibrant influencer fiancée, Ashlee Jenae. They were the blueprint of soft life goals, jet-setting to luxury destinations and posting the kind of content that makes everyone else feel like they're winning at a different game. But behind the filters and the high-end resort tags, the cracks were already starting to show. Reports of a massive power imbalance, age gaps that raised eyebrows, and a history of volatile arguments were already circulating in the elite circles of Miami. This wasn't just a fairy tale, it was a pressure cooker waiting to explode. Now, enter the Miami bombshell. Just as the investigation into Ashlee's passing reaches a fever pitch, this anonymous woman steps onto the scene claiming that Ashlee was living a double life as a high-end bottle girl and a stripper at D-South. She's throwing around claims of secret Instagram accounts that vanished into thin air the moment things went south in Zanzibar. It's the kind of leaked information that feels a little too polished, a little too perfectly timed to distract from the fact that Joe McCann's financial empire is reportedly under a massive microscope. While everyone is busy debating whether Ashlee worked a poll, very few are talking about the reports that Joe's crypto fund, Asymmetric, was allegedly bleeding money while showing profits to investors. If you're a billionaire facing a potential financial fraud probe and a suspicious death investigation at the same time, what's the move? You change the subject. You stop being the man who was there when his fiancée died, and you become the victim of a deceptive woman who hid her true self. It's an old-school play, and it's being executed with terrifying efficiency. The irony here is that the people pushing this double-life narrative are the same ones who can't seem to provide a single receipt. Where are the screenshots of this second Instagram? Where is the footage from the club? In a city like Miami, where everyone has a camera out at all times, the idea that a high-profile influencer could moonlight as a stripper without a single viral clip surfacing until now is almost laughable. Yet, the story is being fed to the public like it's gospel. It's creating a divide where there should be a unified search for answers. On one side, you have the Team Joe camp suggesting that Ashlee's alleged street life made her unpredictable and prone to the tragic outcome we're seeing. On the other side, you have the realists who see this for what it is: a classic case of dragging a woman's reputation through the dirt to protect a man's freedom. It's not just about what happened in that villa anymore. It's about the narrative war being fought in the court of public opinion. And let's talk about the hotel staff's involvement for a second, because the details coming out of Zanzibar are enough to make your skin crawl. We're being told that Ashlee and Joe were so at odds that they were staying in separate villas, numbers 25 and 33. Think about that. You're on a romantic birthday trip, you just got engaged for the second time, and you're staying 10 minutes apart because the tension is that high? That's not a vacation. That's a hostage situation with better room service. The attendant's story about the phone charger and the 20-minute window of darkness feels like a plot point from a low-budget thriller. One minute she's asking for a charger, and the next, the room is pitch black and she's found in a wardrobe. The math isn't mathing. People are calling out the physics of it, the timing of it, and the sheer impossibility of how a vibrant woman in the prime of her life ends up like that in a 20-minute span while her multimillionaire fiancé is just a few villas away, allegedly oblivious to the chaos. The silence from Joe McCann since the incident is perhaps the loudest part of this entire ordeal. Instead of being the grieving fiancé leading the charge for justice, he's been described as ghosting the family, skipping out on arrangements, and staying overseas while the heat dies down. But the heat isn't dying down. It's being redirected. Every time a new detail about the 11-hour delay in calling the family comes to light, a new rumor about Ashlee's past conveniently leaks from a source in Miami. It's a distraction tactic that's as old as time, but in the age of social media, it's being amplified to a dangerous degree. The goal isn't necessarily to prove Ashlee was a stripper. The goal is to make her unworthy of the public sympathy. If they can convince the world she was Yankee or deceptive, then they think the world will stop asking why it took half a day to call her mother. We also have to look at the sugar baby on steroids comment that's been making the rounds. Someone who claims to be in their inner circle dropped a massive quote saying everyone in Miami knew the deal. They claimed Joe met her while she was working, that they've been fighting in luxury hotels across the globe for over a year, and that he chose her specifically because of the power imbalance. If that's true, it paints a much darker picture than just a couple that grew apart. It suggests a relationship built on control, where money was used as both a lure and a leash. And when the leash gets too tight, things break. This isn't just about a secret life. It's about a visible life that was likely a nightmare behind closed doors. The public is being fed the secret life story to avoid looking at the visible abuse allegations that are starting to surface from people who saw them interact in person. Then there's the financial angle, which we cannot ignore because in cases like this, you always follow the money. Joe McCann isn't just some guy, he's a massive figure in the crypto space. He's currently trying to raise $1.5 billion for a new venture. Do you know what $1.5 billion investors don't like? They don't like messy. They don't like police investigations. They don't like their lead partner being associated with a tragic, unexplained death in a foreign country. By pushing the narrative that Ashlee was an escort or a stripper with a complicated past, the blame is subtly shifted onto her lifestyle choices rather than the environment she was in or the person she was with. It's a corporate strategy applied to a personal tragedy. It's cold, it's calculated, and it's working on people who don't know how to read between the lines. As the days go by, the questions are only getting louder. Why is the autopsy report being treated like a state secret? Why is the body still being held? Why did the communication stop the moment the hotel took over the messaging? Every single piece of this puzzle feels like it's being handled by a team of lawyers and PR experts rather than investigators looking for the truth. They want us to focus on Ashlee's Instagram grid, they want us to focus on her alleged Twitter activity, and they want us to judge her for things that have absolutely nothing to do with how she died. But the more they push the Miami stripper narrative, the more it highlights the fact that they have nothing else to offer. If they had clear, exonerating evidence, they wouldn't need to drag her name. If the truth was on their side, they wouldn't need a bombshell from a nameless woman in Miami to save the day. The desperation is starting to show, and it's only a matter of time before the cracks in this scripted narrative become too big to ignore, especially as we move into the actual mechanics of the financial crimes that were allegedly bubbling beneath the surface the whole time. This is where the narrative stops being about gossip and starts feeling like a corporate defense strategy designed by people who get paid too much to keep secrets. If you think the stripper allegations were just random internet noise, you clearly haven't been paying attention to the way the high finance world protects its own. Every time the public begins to ask why the police in Zanzibar are still holding Joe McCann's passport, or why the official cause of death is being listed as cerebral hypoxia from strangulation, a new distraction drops. It's almost like there's a button being pressed to release a fresh batch of leaks every time the heat on the investigation gets too intense. We are being told to look at her alleged second life in Miami, but what about the very real, very documented financial crisis Joe McCann was facing right as this trip began? Reports are surfacing that his crypto fund, Asymmetric, didn't just have a bad month. It was reportedly down nearly 80% year-to-date while the rest of the market was setting all-time highs. Imagine the pressure of losing hundreds of millions of dollars of other people's money while trying to maintain the image of a successful, untouchable tech mogul on a luxury birthday trip. People who know the couple say the friction wasn't just about a birthday dinner. It was about the walls closing in. We have to address the claims that this wasn't even their first engagement, but their second, and that the authorities had been called to intervene in their disputes before. This isn't the profile of a perfect couple that just had one bad night. This is the profile of a relationship that was reportedly defined by volatility and a massive power imbalance. When you have a man who is decades older, exponentially wealthier, and navigating a massive financial collapse, the dynamic shifts from partnership to something much more controlling. And now, the same man who supposedly couldn't protect his fiancée in a 20-minute window is the one whose team is quietly letting these Miami girl rumors circulate. It's the ultimate get-out-of-jail-free card. If you can't explain the strangulation, you explain away the victim's character. You make her look like someone who lived on the edge so that when she falls, people think it was inevitable. But let's look at the timeline again, because the hotel attendant's story is the thread that pulls the whole sweater apart. He says she asked for a charger, he leaves for 20 minutes, and in that tiny sliver of time, she goes from asking for a tech accessory to being found unresponsive in a wardrobe. In the dark. It sounds less like a tragic accident and more like a scene that was staged in a hurry. If the room was pitch black, as the reports suggest, how did the attendant even see her state immediately? And why was Joe, the man who supposedly loved her, nowhere to be found while she was struggling for her life? The family says Joe called them 11 hours after the incident occurred. 11 hours. Think about what you can do in 11 hours. You can clean a room, you can make phone calls, you can consult with legal counsel, and you can certainly come up with a story that fits the evidence. Then the truth does. The family didn't even get the news of her passing from him. They got it from the hotel. If that doesn't scream guilty conscience or calculated silence, I don't know what does. And then there's the D-South claim. The woman from Miami says Ashlee worked there, but where are the employees to back it up? Where are the customers who remember her? Miami is a city of clout, and if a famous influencer was working a poll, someone would have had that footage on their phone years ago. The fact that this is only coming out now, via anonymous sources with zero receipts, tells you everything you need to know. It's a plant. It's a narrative designed to make the public think, oh, she was just an escort, who cares? It's a way to dehumanize a woman who can no longer speak for herself. Meanwhile, Joe is reportedly staying in Zanzibar, not because he's grieving and wants to be near her, but because the authorities literally will not let him leave. They have his passport. They are looking at the surveillance footage. They are looking at the separate villas situation and wondering why a man would move his fiancée to a different room 10 minutes away if things were supposedly fine. The financial stakes here are even higher than people realize. Joe is currently the face of a new venture called Accelerate, trying to raise $1.5 billion. You don't get $1.5 billion if you're the lead suspect in a domestic homicide investigation in Africa. You get $1.5 billion if you're a grieving widower who was tragically deceived by a woman with a secret double life. Do you see the play now? The Miami stripper story isn't just gossip. It's a business necessity. If they can sell the suicide due to a complicated lifestyle narrative, the investors stay, the money flows, and the $1.5 billion dream stays alive. It is a literal price tag on Ashlee Jenae's reputation. They are banking on the idea that the public is too distracted by the scandalous details of her past to notice the massive holes in the official story of her death. Even more disturbing are the reports of what happened in those 11 hours of silence. Anonymous hotel sources have hinted that there were voices heard in that villa that didn't belong to the staff. Was there a cleanup? Was there a discussion on how to present the scene? The fact that her body was found in a wardrobe with a bathrobe belt is being questioned by forensic experts online, who say the physics simply don't align with a self-inflicted incident in such a cramped space. But whenever these technical questions get brought up, a new leak about Ashlee's hidden Instagram magically appears to reset the news cycle. It's a game of whack-a-mole where the truth is the mole and the PR team is the hammer. Ashlee's friends are fighting back, calling her a beacon of light and insisting she was a successful businesswoman with her own brand. They are asking for the receipts of the double life and coming up empty-handed. But in the world of viral fake news and sensational headlines, the truth doesn't have to be true, it just has to be loud. And right now, the money behind Joe McCann is making sure the rumors are deafening. They want you to side-eye her lifestyle. They want you to question her income. They want you to think she was Yankee because if she was Yankee, then maybe her death was just another Yankee outcome. But we're looking past the smoke. We're looking at the 11-hour gap, the separate villas, the withheld passport, and the $1.5 billion on the line. The more they try to expose her secret life, the more they end up exposing their own desperation to keep the real secrets buried under the sand of Zanzibar. This isn't a bombshell from Miami. It's a distraction from the boardroom, and the people are finally starting to see the strings being pulled behind the curtain. The rabbit hole doesn't just go deeper. It turns into a full-blown financial thriller where the stakes aren't just reputation, they are billion-dollar bank accounts. We have to address the elephant in the room. Why is the Miami stripper narrative being pushed so hard specifically in April 2026? It's because the walls aren't just closing in on Joe McCann in Zanzibar. They are closing in on him in the global financial markets. Reports have surfaced that Joe's crypto fund, Asymmetric, didn't just underperform. It essentially imploded, with some liquid funds reportedly down 80% while the rest of the crypto market was hitting all-time highs. When you are a high-profile genius investor and you lose that much of other people's money, you are a desperate man. And desperate men do desperate things to stay afloat. Just as the news of his fund's failure was peaking, he was pivoting to a new $1.5 billion venture called Accelerate. The perfect life with a beautiful influencer was his calling card to investors. If that image shatters into a dark, messy, and suspicious investigation, the $1.5 billion disappears. The double life story isn't just gossip, it's a calculated move to preserve investor confidence by making Ashlee the unstable variable in the equation. But the receipts for this double life are as ghost-like as the communication Joe has had with Ashlee's family. Let's talk about that silence, because it's deafening. Yolanda Endres and Harry Robinson, Ashlee's parents, sat down and told the world that Joe has gone completely radio silent. He called once, 11 hours after the incident, gave a vague explanation that Ashlee did something to herself, and then, nothing. No help with the funeral arrangements, no involvement in bringing her body back to New Jersey, and no answers to the basic questions any grieving family would have. Instead of helping her father reach his $50,000 GoFundMe goal to bring her home, a drop in the bucket for a millionaire, Joe is reportedly hunkered down while his legal team and PR machines leak stories about Miami clubs. If you truly loved someone, and you were a man of means, would you let their father beg the internet for money to fly their casket home? The optics are beyond Yankee. They are incriminating in the court of public opinion. And let's get into the mechanics of that night, because the forensic inconsistencies are starting to pile up like a mountain. The Zanzibar authorities initially went along with the suicide narrative, but as international pressure from the US State Department and high-profile PR firms, Savannah Brits began to mount, the story started to change. We are now hearing about marks around the neck and potential strangulation that doesn't fit the bathrobe belt in a wardrobe theory. If the hotel attendant found her in 20 minutes, in a dark room, why wasn't an alarm raised instantly for Joe, who was only a few villas away? Why was there an 11-hour gap before the family was notified? You don't need to be a detective to realize that 11 hours is exactly enough time to consult with international lawyers on how to handle a potential homicide charge when you're in a foreign jurisdiction. The Miami bombshell claim about her being a bottle girl at D-South is a classic distraction tactic used to trigger slut-shaming in the comment sections. The goal is to make people say, well, if she was a stripper, she was probably into some dark stuff, and maybe Joe is the real victim of her deception. It's a move straight out of the elite crisis management handbook. They want to shift the focus from the bruises on her neck to the clothes she supposedly wore 3 years ago. But people are asking the right questions. If she was such a prominent figure in the Miami club scene, why is there no digital footprint? Why are her friends, her actual friends who were with her daily, calling this a total fabrication? It's because the narrative is being manufactured to protect a $1.5 billion SPAC deal that hinges on Joe McCann's untouchable reputation. Furthermore, The separate villas detail is the smoking gun of their relationship's true state. You don't put your newly engaged fiancé in a separate villa 10 minutes away unless the situation has reached a level of toxicity that is physically dangerous. The hotel staff didn't just offer a second room. They reportedly intervened because the quarreling was so frequent and intense. If the relationship was this fractured, the happy birthday engagement posts were nothing more than a PR facade. And if the facade was crumbling, and Joe was facing financial ruin back home, the motive for a final argument becomes a lot clearer. People are speculating that Ashlee might have known too much about the Yankee financial dealings, or perhaps she was ready to walk away and take the perfect image with her. In the world of high-level fraud and ego, walking away is often not an option. As we look at the official statements from the Zanzibar Ministry of Tourism, they are asking for patience. But patience is a luxury the Robinson family doesn't have while their daughter is sitting in a morgue halfway across the world. The fact that the hotel surveillance footage hasn't been leaked or released to the family yet is suspicious in itself. In a high-end resort like Ziri, there are eyes everywhere. They know exactly who walked into Villa 25 and when the lights went out. They know if the attendant was really alone. And most importantly, they know if Joe McCann stayed in Villa 33 all night or if he made that 10-minute walk in the dark. The Miami stripper story is the shiny object they want you to chase so you don't look at the cameras. The internet is currently a battleground. You have the bot accounts and the Joe Bros pushing the double life narrative, trying to drown out the calls for a real criminal investigation. They are trying to turn Ashlee into a character in a reality show rather than a victim of a tragic crime. But the truth is, whether she was a business owner, an influencer, or a former bottle girl, none of that justifies the 11-hour delay, the radio silence from her fiancé, or the mysterious circumstances of her death in a dark wardrobe. The bombshell didn't blow up Ashlee's reputation. It blew the lid off how desperate the other side is to keep the conversation away from the facts. This story is far from over, and as the US authorities get more involved, the Zanzibar suicide story is going to face a level of scrutiny that no amount of Miami gossip can deflect. Joe McCann might have the billions and the PR team, but the truth has a way of being louder than any paid leak. We are waiting for that written autopsy report, we are waiting for the surveillance logs, and we are waiting for Joe to finally explain what he was doing during those 11 hours of silence. Because right now, the only thing that's exposed is the absolute lack of transparency in this case. What do you think is the real reason behind the 11-hour delay? Is the Miami story a legitimate lead or a billion-dollar distraction? And why is a millionaire fiancé letting a grieving father crowdfund to bring his daughter home? Drop your theories in the comments, because this is getting darker by the minute. Make sure you hit that like button and subscribe, because the next update is going to be the one they really don't want you to see. Stay locked in, stay skeptical, and keep demanding the truth for Ashlee Jenae. Honestly, at this point, the smell of desperation is becoming stronger than the salt air in Zanzibar. We've seen the Miami double life claims, the missing secret Instagram accounts, and the convenient timing of these leaks just as the $1.5 billion investment heat turns up. But ask yourself this, if the truth was on their side, would they really need to spend this much energy digging up, or making up, dirt on a woman who can no longer defend herself? This isn't just about a tragic loss anymore. It's a battle for the narrative, and the internet is officially keeping receipts. Now it's your turn to speak on it. Do you think this Miami bombshell is a legitimate revelation? Or is it the most expensive smokescreen in crypto history? Why did it take 11 hours for the family to get a phone call? And why is a billionaire fiancé silent while a grieving father has to crowdfund to bring his daughter's body home? Drop your theories in the comments below. I want to see who's really paying attention to the cracks in this script. Don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe, and turn on notifications, because we are far from finished with this investigation. The truth is starting to leak out, and you won't want to miss what we uncover next. Stay locked in.